Hey guys, this is Trevor, and today I'm going to show you how to assemble the 6-coup urban track bike. This bike is available at fixiecity.com for $2.99. Go check it out. If you purchased this bike from us, thank you for making this purchase. And I'm going to show you today how to set it up and assemble it without having a bike stand. A few tools you'll need to get started are a 4 and 5 millimeter Allen key set and a 15 millimeter wrench, as well as a box cutter knife or scissors to open the packaging with. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, first thing to do is take the packaging off, so break out your box cutter knife and let's get going. Alright guys, step one is assemble your seat. So the seat should come already put together like this. All you have to do is slide it into the seat tube, put it about enough down to where you at least have a fist still on the seat post, and use your 4 millimeter Allen key to secure the seat post until it's completely solid. Don't over tighten it, just enough. Alright guys, next we're going to assemble the handlebars. So for the handlebars, grab your 4 millimeter Allen key and take all the bolts off of the stem clamp. Alright, then grab your handlebars. Put the bike up straight, and you want to make sure that the bolts that are on the brake levers are facing down. That'll tell you that the handlebars are put up the right direction. So find which way the cables intersect correctly, and if you turn it forward it'll be kind of awkward, so turn it back and the cables should fit nice and snug. If you need to turn the handlebar a little bit to get it on the first time, it's fine. You don't need to get it perfect right now. All we're doing is a basic assembly. We're going to do the adjustments later on. So then put the stem clamp back on the front with holding it with your left or right hand. I use my left hand. I use my thumb and my forefinger here, and then my middle finger is holding the bottom here, and the rest of my hand is resting on the stem. It makes it a little bit easier to accomplish this. Otherwise you might need two people to get it done. Alright, so now using your fingers, just finger tighten the bolts back into the stem clamp. And then using your 4 millimeter Allen wrench, securely fasten those down. Don't do it too tight because you're going to be doing adjustments later on, so just do it enough right now so that it's solid and won't be moving around. Alright guys, now we're going to mount the front wheel on the bicycle. This is a really easy job to do. Front wheel has these 2 bolts. You don't have to take them off all the way, just loosen them all the way out to the end on each side. Okay, once that's done, go over to the front fork, remove the packaging if you haven't already. Take the wheel, look at the grooves on the wheel set. They should be facing one direction, and the point at which they groove in towards each other is the forward facing direction, so make sure those are facing forward. Alright, once you slide it onto the forks, holding it together with your 2 knees, just finger tighten the bolts shut. Then grab your 15 millimeter wrench and tighten them down a little bit more. You don't need to cinch them down all the way quite yet because you're going to be doing more adjustments later. Just cinch them down a little bit. And that's the front wheel. Alright guys, now we're going to set up the pedals. So in your box there should be a smaller box, and this is the pedal box. So take your little knife and or scissors and break it open. And you'll find your pedals. You also find your reflector sets if you want to use those, and use your manual that also comes with instructions for assembly. If you have any questions on that, you can always go to this manual. It also has warranty information and registration information. And what I do always before my first ride is write down the serial number into this booklet and keep the booklet in a file somewhere. And the serial number of the bike can be found underneath the bottom bracket. So you probably lift your bicycle up and look right down here. Right here under the left side pedal is a series of letters and numbers usually, and that is your serial number. So make sure you write that down. In case your bike gets stolen in the future, you can give that to the police. And if you happen to find your bicycle later on, you can always use that serial number as a reference to get your bike back legally. Alright, so to install the pedals, just grab your pedal set, rip the plastic off, and check out which side is right or left. Now, unfortunately today I don't have any grease on me, so this is kind of a bad assembly video without the grease. You should be putting loads of grease under these pedals so that later on they don't seize up. What I'm going to do is go out and buy some grease after this and reinstall the pedals with grease on it. So for the sake of this video though, just to get it done today, I'm installing without grease, but I'm telling you guys as a heads up, definitely get a tube of bicycle grease. Park Tool makes one. I think it's like $5 or $10 at a local bike shop or online, and put some lube on your pedals when you install it. As a note to any manufacturers that watch this video, maybe throwing in a little tube of bike grease into your pedal box would be an awesome idea. 6Q, I don't see them doing this, so I'm probably going to see about talking to them about that. Not a bad idea, right? Alright, cool, let's go ahead and do this. So this one has a little L on the spindle, so that goes on the left side. And the left side actually tightens counterclockwise. If you look at the little sticker here, if your bike doesn't come with a sticker, make sure you're putting the left side in counterclockwise, because if you do it clockwise, you might strip it out, and that's not covered under the warranty, so be sure you get that right the first time. Do not screw that up. If you screw it up, you're going to end up having to buy a whole new crank set. Alright guys, but you're not going to be screwing it up because you're watching this video. Okay, cool. So just take the sticker off. Left side pedal. Put some grease on it, unlike what I'm doing right now. Tighten counterclockwise. Now, one trick to doing this is to put the wrench into the pedal spindle and just pedal backwards. That will automatically tighten counterclockwise. Just do it until it's tight. And move around until you have a good position here, mechanical inclination, and push it down. All the way to that crank set. And you guys are good. And just flip the bike around. Put the other pedal on. The right side goes in clockwise, like anything else tightens. So the sticker should tell you that, but in case you didn't know, right side goes in regular clockwise. So that means right on the top and left on the bottom, clockwise rotation. So just take your spindle, put some grease on it, unlike what I'm doing right now. Kind of finger tighten until you feel it catch in the threads. If you feel it hold up for any reason, don't push it, pull it back out. And what I usually do is turn it counterclockwise until I feel it kind of straight and lock in, and then I turn it clockwise to start turning into the pedal. So just wait till it locks in there. Cool, there it goes. Alright, just take the spindle, or take the wrench, and do the same thing. You're pedaling backwards, and it's turning the spindle clockwise. Alright, now it's held up. Turn it back around, get some mechanical inclination here. Here we go. And I can kind of crank it down. Okay, cool. All good, pedals are installed. All right, we've gotten most of the bike put together. That was 80% of the assembly. Now it's time for some fine-tuning adjustments. The fine-tuning adjustments we're gonna do are the front brake, the rear brake, both front and rear brake levers, the seat, the chain and the chain tension, the front and back wheel level, and make sure it's straight up and down, and then we're gonna fill the tires up with air. And we should be done with this. Sometimes you get a bike, and I'm just going to warn you guys, the wheels might not be completely true because they came from the factory. They didn't come from a bike shop that delivered it to you. It came from a factory in China. So the wheels being out of true is not that big of a deal. It kind of takes away from your efficiency while pedaling. So if your wheel happens to be wobbly when you get it, and that's a sign of not being true, take it to your local bike shop and pay them the 10, 20 bucks that they'll charge you to true your wheel, and you're gonna have a really nice time riding. So yeah, just a heads up on that, guys. Make sure that your wheels are true before you start doing longer rides, because otherwise it's gonna be really inefficient and will actually wear your tires out more too. All right, so let's get into the fine-tuning adjustments. All right, so we're gonna start with the front brake. Grab your 5mm wrench, loosen up the brake clamp just a tad. And the first thing we want to do is line up these brake pads. We want to toe them in. We then want to line them up with the correct braking surface on the rim. So the little bolt that holds them in is a little bit smaller than this big bolt usually. So let's grab our 4 and loosen each one up. Alright, now to avoid brake squeakiness, we want to make sure that they are lined up on the correct braking surface here. To do so, you can use your fingers and just squeeze them tight. Alright, I got this one, and use your thumb, because that you'll hold this brake down and you'll basically be pushing the nose of it in. And by toeing in your brakes, you can be applying pressure to one part of the brake at first, so that's less friction on the entire brake pad, which should avoid the squeaking syndrome that sometimes, squeaking symptom that sometimes people see or hear when they first start riding. So we're gonna do the same thing here. Just apply pressure with your thumb. Make sure it's on that braking surface, which is on the top. And really crank it down. Cool, and when you're looking at it from the top, you should see the nose of it is mostly in first. The toe of the brake. Toe is the top, the front. All right, great, so now we're gonna adjust the cable tension. The handbrake is completely loose right now, so what I do to do that is take your right hand, squeeze in the brakes, use your left hand to pull the cable tight, break out your 5mm Allen key, just hold it all the way down and tighten as much as you can. Brakes will release just a little bit and you'll have the tightest brake. You want to make sure the lever isn't going any farther than like a quarter of the way, because you want to make sure that whole part is just squeezing it tight. So you want to touch it, just about that much play to touch it, and the rest of it squeezes down. And you should be good. Let's get on to the back brake. All right, so the same deal here with the back brake. There's just a longer distance you're gonna have to deal with. So let's make sure that this cable is twisted down. Since there is that longer distance, we're gonna be relying on the pressure of the brakes to kind of hold them in there. So make sure you tighten the cable tensioner down all the way, and then use your 4mm. And instead of doing both, let's just do one at a time. So grab your rear handle, tighten down that brake all the way, and as you can see, it's not really tightening much. Need to tighten the cable down quite a bit more than that. Cool. Alright, so now that we can squeeze the brake tight, line it up with this braking surface on the rim here at the top, and you want to make sure you're toeing in. So you see this little fin thing here. You want to use that side of the brake and squeeze it down with your thumb. So release it and squeeze it down, and then tighten it back up. Cool. That's going to toe in your brakes, so you'll get the best braking power out of it and avoid that squeaking sound. We're just going to do the same thing to the opposite side here. You guys can't really see it, but it's going to do the same thing. Cool. Alright, so the brakes are a little bit loose right now. I'm gonna do the final adjustment. Oops. So the brakes are a little bit loose right now. I'm gonna have to do the final adjustment. Loosen up this cord here. Pull it all the way tight. Cool. The front and rear are about the same, so there's your basic cable adjustments. Remember those 3 points? There's this one, the 5mm, and these 2 pads are the 4. Alright, one more adjustment I'm going to make here is on the stem clamp. So, this requires a 5mm, I believe, or is it a 6? Yeah, it's a 5mm Allen key, so you just loosen up these 2 bolts here. And this is required because the front wheel will be out of alignment most likely. And you know, you're never gonna get it perfect, but you can kind of eyeball it. So what I usually do is I look straight down and I'll see that the tire lines up with the tubes. And you might need to adjust this again later, but at least you can get it most of the way down now. And that looks about right, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it back down. It was way off before, so this should be at least mostly correct. That's all that I need, mostly correct. Cool. Alright, that's done. Alright guys, next we're going to pump up the tires. So in order to pump up tires on a road bike, fixed gear bike like this one, you're going to need a Presta valve. Presta valves are the smaller kind of valve. You can buy a bike pump at your local shop or online that has both a Schrader and a Presta valve. But the difference is that Presta valves have these little tiny nozzles that you have to unscrew, and then you can press in and it releases air. So that's a Presta valve. It's an Italian, European version. And the Schrader valve is the big one. That's the one you guys are probably all familiar with. They come on mountain bikes usually, beach cruisers, fat tire bikes, all the big fat tubes have Schrader valves. But we're gonna be working with the Presta valve. So make sure you either get a bike pump that has a Presta valve adapter in there already, or you can buy a Presta valve adapter to put it onto your Schrader valve bike pump if you only have that. All right, but as long as you have that Presta valve adapter, you just want to unscrew this all the way and then put it in there nice and snug down as far as you can possibly go. Pull the tab back and pump it up to about 115 psi. Yeah, right here it says maximum inflated tire pressure recommended is 110 psi. So I said 115, I meant 110. Alright, so when you're done with that, just unconnect the flat and screw that little thing shut there. Put that to the end. And if you have that cap, you can screw it back on. It's really not that necessary. It's just kind of nice. Alright, and then we'll do the back tire. Same thing, you just unscrew it, put it in all the way, close it shut, and 110. And you're all set. Alright, one of the last adjustments I'm going to make is the handlebars. Remember when we put them together, we didn't tighten them down all the way, so we want to make sure now that they're lined up. So grab your 4mm Allen key and loosen up the bolts just a tad. Kind of wiggle them around a little bit, try to find the even spot width and the correct spot on the height. And if you need to look at it, kind of sit back on your bike and take a look at it. You want it to be comfortable with the brake levers about where your fingers are going to be. You want it to be sort of going up. The riser bar goes up and straight out, not down or too far forward. So once you get that position just about right, keep it there. Tighten the bolts down. Don't tighten them one at a time. Tighten, you know, a little bit on one, a little bit on another, so that they all evenly go down correctly. This last stage, you want to definitely cinch them down nicely so that they hold your handlebars in place, because nothing's worse than being on a ride and all of a sudden your handlebars go way out of whack. It's not so bad on riser bars, but it's worse on like if you're doing drop bars or bull horns or something like that. Hard to control them. Just make sure they're cinched all the way. One more small adjustment you guys may need to make is on this brake caliper itself. I forgot to mention this. There's a little bolt back here, and if you feel it wiggling around a lot, which it might be loose, you take your 5mm Allen key, insert it into this little bolt back here, and tighten it down all the way. I've already done it on the front brake, so I'll turn it around and show you how to do it on the back brake. I don't think you can see it from this angle, but it's on the opposite side of this little brake collection thing, so just slide your little Allen key back here, find the middle spot, and tighten it down. That way your brake caliper will stay in place. Won't be wiggling around a lot. Alright, so one more change you guys might want to make before you start riding your bike is changing it from single speed to fixed gear. Luckily these bikes come with flip-flop hubs, which make it really easy because the fixed gear and single speed cog are already installed. As you can see, it's set up out of the factory to be coasting or single speed, and the opposite cog, and why it's called a flip-flop hub, because you can literally just flip the wheel over, and the fixed gear cog is on the opposite side. So all we gotta do is take the wheel off, flip it around, and put it back on. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do that. All right, so in order to do this, I'm gonna flip the bike upside down. A little bit easier for us. Cool. Now use your 15mm wrench and loosen the bolts on both sides. Should be fairly easy to do. Some bicycles come with chain tensioners. The Urban Track bike, the by 6Q does not, which is fine. Just means we have to make sure we tension it. So the chain is on this side, but what you want to do is make sure that you pull the wheel all the way forward first, and then you can just kind of take one side off and turn the wheel and just let the chain droop. Oh, and then you're going to need to release your pads as well. Hopefully they're not too tight. There you go, okay. So now, there we are, that's the wheel. So this side has the single speed, and this side has fixed gear, and we want to turn that around and make sure the fixed gear cog is on the side of the chain. So let's put that wheel back in there. And same deal with the chain again, you can just put it on the top and turn it down. And this is the important part. You want to make sure that you really push as hard as you can so that the chain's nice and tight. You don't want to over tighten it, but you do want to have it nice and tight so that it's not loose while you're riding. Grab your wrench again, push it forward, kind of eyeball it too here at the bottom. You want to make sure that at this point the wheel looks like it's matching up with the frame properly. And that means that you're not going to be pushing on one brake pad or the other. You can also look at the brake pad and make sure it's lined up properly. So just kind of do an eyeball here. Line it up good. Maybe use a few fingers at this little point right here to press the tire in, the wheel. Finger tighten the bolts down, one side and then the other. You kind of tighten one end. Watch the wheel, make sure it doesn't get out of alignment. You can easily go to one side or the other. Like here, it's gone to the left side. So now I'm going to loosen this up a little bit. Pull a little bit. Push it back over. Maybe do this one first. That's a little bit better. Chain's pretty tight, so that's good. Make sure you tighten these down all the way because you don't want that wheel coming off. Okay. Should be good. And now you're fixed gear. So that's how you change a single speed into a fixed gear fixie. Alright guys, that's how you assemble the 6Q Urban Track bike. And this assembly video can be used for other bicycles as well because a lot of the same concepts apply. So once you've assembled and fine-tuned and adjusted your bike, it's time to take it for a test ride. During your test ride, a few things to keep in mind is to test both your brakes a lot. You want to make sure that they're stopping you good, and that even when you push down a little bit, that they're not squeaking too loud, because once you get out on a long ride and you got really squeaky brakes, it kind of sucks to squeeze them down all the way and make a big squeak. So check for squeakiness, and if you have squeakiness, practice that towing in technique that I was talking about at the brake pads. And if they just don't stop squeaking, then you'll definitely need to just go online or go to your bike shop and get a new set of brake pads, because sometimes the brake pads come and they can be kind of old or something like that from factory direct bikes. So make sure you test the brakes, make sure you test the tension of the chain and the pedaling, and just have some fun out there, guys. You'll probably need to refill your tires after the first couple rides, because usually after the first ride or two, especially if they're longer rides, it tends to wear out the bike a little bit in the beginning, so just make sure that you do the proper maintenance on it. Go and get yourself some grease when you install your pedals, like I didn't do in this video, but I'm going to do after this video. And have some fun. Look forward to doing a review video in the future. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, comment if you have any questions, and go check out fixiecity.com for all your fixed gear riding needs. Alright, again, this is Trevor, guys, and I will see you out there in the bike path.